Imagine standing in front of uh, three wooden stumps driven into the ground.
Right.
22 yards away, a world-class athlete is sprinting directly at you, and in a split second, they're going to hurl a rock-hard sphere of leather and cork right at your head, or your ribs or your toes.
Yeah, it's something like 95 miles per hour.
Exactly. You have less than half a second to pick up the trajectory, move your feet into the perfect position, and swing a heavy wooden bat to intercept it. Now, imagine doing that successfully enough to score over 27,000 runs on the international stage.
It's a terrifying scenario when you break it down to its raw physics, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
And yet, the player we're focusing on today didn't just survive that gauntlet. He absolutely mastered it. We're looking at a career that spanned nearly 2 decades, which, given the physical and mental toll of the sport, well, it basically defies almost all conventional sporting logic.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to really understand the scale of Ricky Ponting's legacy, we kind of have to sit with that number for a second. 27,000 runs across all formats of cricket.
It's massive.
Right. To accumulate that kind of staggering total, you aren't just stringing together a few hot seasons. You are spending thousands upon thousands of hours standing at the crease.
Yeah.
You are wrapped in heavy, suffocating protective gear. You're often baking in over 90-degree heat and maintaining this unbreakable level of focus for hours and sometimes, literally days at a time.
Yeah, the endurance is just mind-blowing.
So today's mission in this deep dive is to figure out how a kid from Tasmania evolved into a cricketing titan. A guy who didn't just rack up individual statistics, but who fundamentally engineered an entire era of global dominance for the Australian national team.
And, to understand the architecture of that dominance, we really have to look at the foundation first.
Right. Where did it all start?
Well, this wasn't someone manufactured in a high-tech sports lab. Born on December 19, 1974, in Launceston, Tasmania, he grew up immersed in a deeply ingrained cricketing culture. His family just lived and breathed the game.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and the Tasmanian domestic cricket scene at the time was incredibly gritty. It was fiercely competitive. He wasn't just participating, though. He was a true prodigy, completely tearing through the junior ranks.
I mean, he must have stood out immediately.
Oh, absolutely. By the time he made his international debut in 1995, which was in a one-day international against Sri Lanka, the national selectors already knew they had something extremely rare on their hands.
Right, but rare talent gets thrown around a lot in sports. I really want to drill down into his actual mechanics,
Sure.
because the notes we've gathered on his playing style describe his technique as a blend of elegance, aggression, and versatility. And honestly, I'm having a hard time picturing how that actually works in practice.
It sounds like a bit of an oxymoron, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Usually you have the bruiser or the ballet dancer, right?
Yeah.
You have the guy who swings out of his shoes using pure, violent muscle, or you have the finesse player who relies entirely on timing. So how can a batter be simultaneously aggressive and elegant without it just, turning into a contradictory mess?
What's fascinating here is that the answer lies entirely in his lower body.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When we think of aggression, we usually picture someone swinging their arms wildly, and that naturally throws the body off balance. It looks frantic.
Right, like they're just hacking at it.
Exactly. But Ponting's genius was that his footwork was almost supernaturally precise. His feet moved to the exact right spot on the pitch before the ball even arrived.
Wow.
Because his body weight was already perfectly aligned and perfectly balanced. He didn't need to swing with reckless violence. He just transferred his weight smoothly straight through the ball.
Oh, I see. It's almost like the suspension system on a high-end race car.
That's a great analogy.
No matter how incredibly bumpy or unpredictable the surface of the pitch was, his core stayed completely steady. He absorbed the shock of the speed and just fired the energy right back. So the shot looks incredibly graceful, but it leaves the bat like an absolute bullet.
That is a perfect way to visualize it.
Okay.
It was calculated, devastatingly powerful shot making, but built on a foundation of absolute balance.
Right.
And this perfect mechanical foundation gave him a massive range of shots. He could hit a booming, powerful drive straight down the field. Or he could wait until the very last millisecond to play a deft, angled cut shot past the fielder.
Just totally unpredictable for the bowler.
Exactly. And crucially, he could deploy this entire arsenal against both fast bowling and spin bowling with identical effectiveness.
Actually, let's pause on that, because for anyone listening who isn't a massive cricket fanatic, being elite at both pace and spin is like, I don't know, being an Olympic sprinter who is also a world-class chess grandmaster.
Yeah, it's incredibly rare.
They require completely different brain processing, don't they? I mean, pace bowling is all about twitch reactions, just surviving a high-speed projectile.
Yes.
But spin bowling is much slower. The ball grips the pitch and violently darts sideways. So it's about geometry and anticipation and literally reading the revolutions on the ball as it leaves the bowler's hand.
Exactly. When you face a fast bowler, you are reacting to sheer velocity. When you face a spin bowler, you are basically trying to solve a real-time physics equation before the ball even bounces.
Right. Which sounds impossible.
It is for most people. Most professional batters have a slight weakness against one or the other. Opposing captains will analyze a batter, figure out if they struggle with speed or spin, and just relentlessly attack that weakness.
Sure, that's just smart strategy.
But with Ponting, there was no safe option. His footwork allowed him to neutralize the speed of the fast bowlers, and his keen eye allowed him to read the spin bowlers perfectly. It made him an absolute nightmare to strategize against.
So he has this flawless, versatile technique. But having great mechanics when you are playing a quiet domestic match in Tasmania is entirely different from executing them when hundreds of millions of people are watching you on TV.
Oh, completely different game.
I want to look at what happens when you take that perfect race car and push it to its absolute limits under extreme pressure. Because the records in our sources highlight some performances that honestly just defy belief.
Well, the ability to compartmentalize pressure showed up very early for him. If we look at the 1996 World Cup, he played this vital, gritty innings against a highly intimidating West Indies team.
Right.
Now, Australia didn't win that tournament, but that specific match sent a very clear signal to the rest of the world. It showed that this young player's technique does not disintegrate when the stakes get high.
And that was just the baseline, really. Let's look at his achievements in Test cricket. For you listening, we need to quickly define what a Test match actually is, because the sheer physical toll is, well, it's hard to overstate.
Brutal.
A Test match is not a 3-hour game. It is a grueling battle of attrition that lasts for up to 5 full days. You play for roughly 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And in that format, Ponting scored 257 runs in a single innings against India in 2003, and then 196 runs against South Africa in 2006.
I mean, just think about the cognitive endurance required for that. To score 257 runs, you are standing out there for well over a full day's worth of playing time.
That's insane.
Every single ball delivered is an opportunity to make a mistake. One split-second lapse in concentration, one slightly mistimed step, and your innings is over.
Wow.
To maintain that aggressive, elegant technique we just talked about over that duration, it requires a level of mental stamina that is exceedingly rare.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Test matches are a marathon, but the limited overs format, the one-day internationals or ODIs, they're more of a sprint.
Right.
And his performances in the ODI World Cup finals are legendary. He scored an unbeaten 140 runs in the 2003 World Cup final and then backed it up 4 years later with 98 runs in the 2007 World Cup final.
Incredible numbers.
Yeah, and in sports science, there's a pretty well-documented phenomenon where athletes choke. The pressure of a championship game makes them overthink their automatic physical movements.
Right, the stakes are just suffocating.
Exactly. So players tighten up, they play it safe, and their performance actually drops. But Ponting seemed to score significantly more when the title was on the line. How is it even possible to defy that psychology?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it reveals the ultimate secret to his success. His mind actively weaponized the pressure.
Weaponized it.
Yeah. We discussed his flawless footwork and balance, right? But that physical versatility meant absolutely nothing without an ironclad psychological framework. When amateur athletes face high pressure, their prefrontal cortex, the thinking part of the brain, it goes into overdrive.
Right, they start overanalyzing everything.
Exactly, and that interferes with muscle memory. But Ponting was a cognitive anomaly. The higher the stakes, the less he thought. He quieted his mind and let his thousands of hours of muscle memory completely take over.
It's almost like the noise of a World Cup final actually narrowed his focus, rather than distracting him.
That's exactly it.
While everyone else on the field was hyper-aware of the trophy and the crowd and the legacy of the moment, he was literally just watching the revolutions on a little leather ball.
That is the essence of his mental composure.
Yeah.
He didn't let the magnitude of the event dictate his shot selection at all.
Right.
If the bowler made a mistake, He punished it with the exact same ruthless efficiency in a World Cup final as he would in, a quiet Tuesday training session.
Which naturally makes you wonder about the locker room dynamics. I mean, being a superstar individual run-scoring machine is one thing, but eventually younger players start looking at that absolute unflappable calm and they gravitate toward it.
Yeah, it's magnetic.
Ponting didn't just stay a lone wolf. He was handed the captain's mantle for both the Australian Test and ODI teams.
And that transition is arguably the most defining era of modern Australian cricket. Evolving from a prodigious talent into the engine of an entire squad, it requires a totally different skill set.
Right, because it's not just about you anymore.
Exactly. You are no longer just responsible for your own footwork. You are now responsible for the tactical positioning, the emotional state, and the strategic output of 10 other men on the field.
The history books are full of his leadership milestones. Under his captaincy, Australia won back-to-back World Cup titles in 2003 and 2007. They also utterly dominated the 2006-2007 Ashes series.
Which is huge.
Yeah. For context, the Ashes is a historic, deeply bitter rivalry series between Australia and England. Winning it, let alone dominating it, is basically the holy grail for an Australian captain.
Oh, absolutely.
The documentation talks a lot about his tactical acumen and his intense work ethic. But I have to be honest and push back a little here.
Okay, go ahead.
Everything I read says his leadership philosophy was leading from the front. Isn't that just a massive sports cliche?
I mean, it sounds like one.
Right. Every captain on Earth claims they lead by example. Did his sheer individual brilliance ever overshadow the team? Or was his talent actually the blueprint for the team's discipline? What actually made his dressing room different from any other team?
It's a really fair challenge because it does sound like a cliche until you look at the actual mechanics of their team culture.
Okay.
In many sports, a superstar captain can actually be detrimental. Their sheer individual brilliance can overshadow the team, making the role players feel inadequate. Or it creates a culture where everyone just waits for the star to save them.
Right, like, oh, Ricky will just hit another century, we're fine.
Exactly. But Ponting avoided this by making his work ethic the team's baseline, not an exception.
So it wasn't just about him scoring centuries and hoping everyone else clapped?
Not at all. He fundamentally altered the temperature of the dressing room. He wasn't a captain who barked orders from the rear while struggling with his own form. When the best player in the world, the guy scoring double centuries in test matches, is the very first one at training, the one diving hardest in fielding drills, and the one meticulously analyzing the opposition's weaknesses. Well, it strips away any excuses for the rest of the squad.
Yeah, I can see that.
His talent was the spark, but his discipline became the actual blueprint for team cohesion. He demanded excellence by just demonstrating it relentlessly.
So his personal accountability essentially shamed everyone else into stepping up their game.
Exactly.
If Ricky Ponting is grinding out there in the heat, the rookie who just joined the squad certainly can't complain about being tired.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that is how you sustain a dynasty. The back-to-back World Cup titles weren't just the result of his bat. They were the result of a collective unit operating at a fever pitch of focus. And it was all entirely modeled on their captain's demeanor.
It's an incredible peak, but with all this dominance, the 27,000 runs, the sheer tactical genius, all the trophies, it's very easy to start viewing him as this infallible machine, like a perfectly calibrated sporting robot. But no human body is designed to withstand 2 decades of high-velocity impact. To really grasp his greatness, we have to look at what happened when the machine started to break down. We have to look at his vulnerabilities.
And honestly, it is the most compelling part of his journey. A legacy is rarely forged purely in the moments of victory, right? It's forged in how an athlete responds when the lights dim and the applause stops.
Right.
And Ponting faced immense obstacles that severely tested his resilience, both physically and psychologically.
Let's talk about the physical first, injuries. We spent all this time establishing that his entire genius was built on microscopic perfection in his footwork and his balance.
Yeah.
So what happens when a knee gives out? Or an ankle? A physical injury for him isn't just a matter of playing through the pain. It fundamentally dismantles the mechanics of his swing.
It throws the entire suspension system completely out of alignment.
Right.
And as those injuries mounted later in his career, they inevitably led to periods of poor form. The runs just stopped flowing with that same effortless grace. And in Australia, you have to understand, the captain of the national cricket team is scrutinized with a ferocity that is hard to even comprehend.
I can imagine.
Every single mistimed shot, every tactical error, every loss. It's debated endlessly on television, in newspapers, and in pubs across the country.
The mental toll of that must just be crushing. I mean, you go from being the golden boy who can conquer the world to having your own nation's media questioning if you're too old, too slow, and outright demanding that you step down.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean? How did enduring these criticisms actually solidify his legacy rather than tarnishing it?
Well, this raises an important question about how we fundamentally measure sports heroes.
Okay.
It is incredibly easy to measure a player by their statistical peak. Like anyone can look at a 140 not out in a World Cup final and recognize greatness.
Right. The numbers speak for themselves.
But true greatness is measured by the ability to handle the inevitable decline with grace, and then find a way to serve the ecosystem that built you. Ponting didn't just ride a wave of natural talent and walk away.
No, he really did.
He fought through the physical agony of recurring injuries. He weathered a brutal storm of public scrutiny, and then he channeled all of that hard-won, painful experience into developing the next generation.
Because he practically willed himself back to relevance through sheer stubbornness and love for the game.
He did.
And when he finally did retire from international play in 2012, he didn't just take his millions and disappear to a private island.
No, not at all.
He pivoted. He became a highly respected television commentator. He became a coach. He became a mentor.
Exactly. He's sitting in the commentary box, analyzing the game with a global audience, or he's in the dugout as a coach, literally handing his tactical blueprints directly to young players who grew up idolizing him.
Wow.
Plus, his extensive philanthropic work off the field just cements the idea that his values extended far beyond the boundary ropes.
His career really does create a complete 360-degree picture of excellence. He didn't just play in an era. He defined the benchmark for what it means to be a modern professional cricketer, both in triumph and in adversity.
Absolutely.
It really is a masterclass in sustained performance. So for you listening, let's take a step back and look at the whole canvas we've painted today.
Yeah.
We tracked a kid from a gritty Tasmanian circuit who figured out how to merge elegant balance with violent power. We watched him step onto the sport's biggest, most suffocating stages, weaponize the pressure, and score centuries while the rest of the world choked.
It'd be quite a journey.
We saw him take a dressing room full of massive stars and bend them to his absolute will through sheer, undeniable work ethic. And finally, when his body started to fail and the critics circled, he gritted his teeth, he adapted, and eventually became the elder statesman teaching others how to survive the fire.
Beautifully put.
And I think the biggest takeaway here has nothing to do with hitting a leather ball. You don't need to be facing a fast bowler to use this. Ricky Ponting's absolute mental composure under fire and his refusal to ask anything of his team that he wasn't willing to do himself, well, that's a blueprint for leadership in literally any high-pressure field you might be navigating.
That is precisely why analyzing a career of this magnitude is so valuable for all of us. It gives us a real window into the architecture of resilience. And, as we wrap up, I think there's a fascinating lens through which to view the sport today.
Oh, yeah.
As you watch the next generation of modern cricket prodigies emerge, ask yourself, are we just watching new players, or are we really just watching athletes trying to reverse engineer the Ricky Ponting blueprint?
Wow. That is a phenomenal thought to leave on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope you take that blueprint of discipline and composure into whatever challenges you're facing this week. And the next time you see a highlight reel of a massive score, we hope you remember just how heavy those 27,000 runs truly are. Until next time.